Well, good afternoon. Hello, hello. I need some more energy. Hello. All right. All right. Well, welcome to our segment. My name is Dr. Shakina Williams. I am the executive director of the Frank and Eileen Center for Women's Entrepreneurship at Babson College. Thank you. Babson College is known to be number one in entrepreneurship around the world, and it's so fitting to have a conversation when it pertains to women entrepreneurship. So we're just so grateful to be here today. Miss Adrienne Smith, thank you so much for this opportunity for having us here today. I am joined by my newfound friends here, and we're going to talk about the topic of why is it important to invest and also support Black women entrepreneurs. As I sat here over the last couple of days, we had some great conversation about the importance of investing and supporting all entrepreneurs, particularly in the creative space. And I definitely have a great panel that's going to cover all those different topics. But before I pass it over to them to introduce themselves, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and then also I want to know what Black women or women have really influenced their lives. And when I think about that question, I think about my grandmother and I think about my mom. I think about the statistics shows that the Black women entrepreneurs are the fastest growing segment when it comes down to entrepreneurship. But as we know as Black people, we've been entrepreneurs since the beginning. We, between hustling, had to provide for our families. And I think about my grandmother, I think about my mother being entrepreneurs in our community, but also within our family as well, teaching us how to have multiple streams of income, about how important education is, and also how to utilize resources in our community. So I'm going to pass it over to my first guest, Kadia, if she can introduce herself and tell us what Black woman or Black women has influenced your life.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, everyone. It's nice to see you all. My name's Kadia Tubman. I'm the managing editor at Business Insider. I'm also a breaking news editor. I am also a commentator on MSNBC where I talk about politics. So you can find me there on Sundays and Saturdays. I also am a board member for the Jeremiah program, a shout out to that, which is helping single mothers end cycle of poverty in their lives, and a proud Babson alum. And the question was, who's a Black woman or a Black woman that's impacted my life? And my last name is Tubman. So from the age of 2 or 3, when I was reading about Harriet Tubman from my mom, I knew who I had to live up to be. I knew who guided everything that I had to do. And the one thing I loved about Harriet Tubman is when she was dying, she said, "I go to prepare a place for you." And that is like the epitome of Black women. They're constantly going to places to prepare a place for the people behind them, especially the Black women who are behind them, and especially their communities. So I think about them. I also think about my mother who taught me about Harriet Tubman, who taught me to live up to a legacy that brought in community. So those are the Black women that really impact my life.
Welcome.
I love that. Hi, everyone. Sharina Florence, very happy to be here with you. Group Creative Director at 72 and Sunny. Also sit on the One Club board with Jimmy, donating a lot of time to the One School, free education for Black students to bring them into advertising. Both of us also actually mentor in South Africa, bringing South African young men and women into the industry. And then I head up the U.S. side of an organization called POC. We have about 2,000 creatives of color who are organized together. And what we try to do is just really filter opportunities, answer questions for each other in real time, and provide a safe space so that Black creativity can not only thrive, but everyone can learn from the people who came before them. And I believe your question was not just Black women, but Black people, right, who have influenced you?
Yes.
So the first person I'm going to reference is actually sitting right next to me, and his name is Jimmy Smith. You'll learn all about him in a minute. But Jimmy has had a profound impact on my life. He has been like a parent to me. He has looked out for my interests. He's whispered in my ear and told me what to do, what not to do, how he might help me. And he's also always kind of brought it back to God and be focused on doing the work that you're here to do, not worrying about the things that are happening around you. You have one thing to do, and that is just walk your path. And it's been life affirming to have somebody like Jimmy around. And if there was no Jimmy, I don't think there would have been a person that I could have looked to for that type of inspiration.
Oh,
and
Boulder
support.
Dash.
Who else was it going to turn to? But then I do want to call out a woman as well. I'm not sure if you guys know the glorious Nadja Bellin White. Nadja has been a huge influence in advertising. She has been a global CMO, and she has looked out for me in so many ways and created pathways and opportunities. I wouldn't be sitting here with you today if those two people hadn't had my back in some way.
Thank you, Serena. Let's see here. Oh, Jimmy Smith, and I'm the chairman, CEO, and chief creative officer of Amusement Park Entertainment. A lot of women. We don't have enough time for this. Starting off, obviously, with Mama, and rest in power, and Evelyn, that's her name. And I got to dap up Dad, because us dads always get left out. James Robert. Got to hit up James Robert. But Mom's sisters, they were all teachers. All but one was a teacher. And so education was always around me, education, being educated, speaking correctly. I heard them when I started saying dope, but anyway. And then my grandma on my dad's side, she was powerful. And then in all seriousness, Jane Kennedy. Couldn't tell me nothing about Jane back in the day. So the beautiful black woman, I'm married to my wife, who I've been married to for 39 years. So it'll be in August, 39 years. Smoke.
Congratulations.
Shout out to
Yes.
Smoke.
We're talking a lot about impact, and also we talked about investment. Let's talk about, we hear from the stats, we talk about a lot of time as far as women across the board, there's limited resources, like where is the money? We talk about investing more into women entrepreneurs, and that's more than capital. One of the top reasons why Black women saying that they can't really break the barriers besides the capital is entrepreneurship education, which Babson is doing their part, and I'll talk a little bit about that soon, but also mentorship, and then also community. Could you each talk about how even in your industry, or what are you doing for other Black women entrepreneurs in that space? How are you investing in Black women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I can go first. First and foremost, we're writing about them. We're talking to them. So one thing that I do at Business Insider is making sure that we have diversity in our sources. And so when we're talking about tech, and we're talking about community development, if we're talking about business, if we're talking about retail, if we're talking about all these different topics that come up in media, I'm asking, where are the Black women sources? That's the first part we're going to, because we have to see them. And when we see them, then we can point out the ways in which we can invest in them. And so that's the first place that I look to, especially as a journalist and a managing editor, where I get to guide my reporters and my staff to say, this is where we should be looking to talk to those people, so we know that they're there and that we can actually direct who can get the resources that they need. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. I'm in a strange position in terms of, being inside of an advertising agency and trying to create empowerment. There are a lot of probably things to navigate, right, in that environment. But what I try to do is to look at every time somebody wants to communicate to a Black person, and it's written in the brief, I try to take that as an opportunity to make everything Black. So, and I asked for Black folks no matter what, but if anything is written about this serves this community, then I make sure we're going to have a Black director, we're going to have all Black set. Beyond that, we're going to have Black editing, we're going to have a Black team, and then just trying to look for people who are starting businesses that are beautiful ideas, and then bringing our talents to that as well. There's no reason that you can't actually seek out people to bring your talents and your skills to help them continue to flourish. So those are kind of the two ways that, I'm not the Beyonce of advertising.
What did you
no.
say? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but one more thing I wanted to say. You know, we were all just talking about women who have influenced us and helped us. And I just want to shout out Adrienne because Adrienne
Yes.
has done so much work.
Yes.
She has created something from nothing, and look at how beautiful it is. And every time I come here, I know that I have a safe space, that I will be welcomed, that I will be treated with respect, that no one here will be talking to me thinking I'm a prostitute because I have a nice purse. And I just feel like she's done something that our community has needed for so long. And when we talk about building a space, and paving a way, that's what she's doing. She's built something that will have an eternal impact on this industry. So it's benefited all black women, all black men, but beyond that, it benefits all
of
people.
us. All of us.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Adrienne. Yes.
Amen to that,
Yes.
Adrian.
Yes.
I'd also add to Adrian Anastasia. Anastasia Williams in the A-list. Anytime she calls, it's like, yeah, I'll do that. And she's running an organization called the A-List, and she's done a whole bunch of stuff right along with Adrian. So those two women for sure. Also, I'm learning about a whole bunch of black entrepreneurs since I've been here. Like, I've been coming to Cannes since heck was a puppy. I'm older than y'all. So I haven't seen this many black faces in Cannes. Wouldn't y'all agree, who's been here before? This is like historic, right?
Right.
So I met a woman just today. Her name, what's up, Triple B? I met a woman named Faye Jimmy. If I forget that name, I got a problem. But no, it's like Sharday. Farday Jimmy. And she's from England, born and raised in England, but her dad is Nigerian. She has her own production company in Nigeria, and she does stuff for Burner Boy and all the big acts out of Africa and whatnot. Just got hooked up with a job from Coca-Cola. I literally met her before I came here, and I said, yo, give me your information. Let's do something. So if I see something, do something, right?
Right. Right. And many of us are here, we're kind of like singing to the choir and we know, but what kind of advice would we give organizations, companies, and institute how to improve as far as giving opportunities, more opportunities to black women entrepreneurs? Anybody can take that question.
All right. Oh, so you said giving more opportunities.
Yeah,
how do you do that?
What kind of tips would you give these organizations or individuals? Like, how do I do that?
I mean, the first thing I ask when I go into most organizations, especially now that my focus is DEI as a journalist, I'm asking, what's the level of ownership the black women around you have in your company or your institution? What's the level of ownership? And then we could talk about entrepreneurship as a part of that. But if you're talking specifically about the black women who are part of institutions, agencies, companies, whatever they're in, I ask, if there is no ownership, if they don't feel a sense of ownership, that means that there's not enough trust, there's not enough resources, support, mentorship, a whole list of all these things that come together to make a black woman feel like she owns something when she's in a space. I used to be here, Jimmy said, like 5-6 years ago, that you wouldn't see this many people of color here, and you're absolutely right. It would take like one cafe somewhere where 20 of us would just gather because we saw each other on the street. So this is amazing, but when we're thinking about back then, and about the black women that were leading a lot of the activations that you're seeing around here, that was ownership. That was them stepping into it. But a lot of people don't have that opportunity. A lot of black women don't have that opportunity when they come to spaces like this. They're kind of sidelined. So that's the first question I go to when I'm going to a company and I talk about DEI, especially in terms of their success rate. What do the black women own?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I guess the conversation I have quite often is, it's not what's happening out here that has to change, it's what's happening in here. So who are you on the inside? Like, what is your motivation for even being in the world and being in business? And I think if you have the right type of mindset and the right type of heart, you don't want things back from other people.
So true.
You doing for people is you getting something, right? And so really it's just about, I think that we are looking to work with more people who are there for other people, and all those folks who can't figure it out and they can't support black women, black men, different, just other and different people, well, let's just stop even speaking to them. And at some point, like, that's going to fade away. If we just keep doing the work and we keep showing up and we keep providing opportunities, I think the level of creativity, the level of prowess that black creators have and black entrepreneurs have, it won't matter. We just have to create enough solidarity and unity. Everybody's not always going to be on board. You don't need everybody. You just need enough people, right?
Exactly, exactly. I was talking to my colleague, Samantha. I don't see her here. We're you see Samantha from Walker's Legacy Foundation. Give me a little plug, girl. We talked about. She talks a lot about situational privilege, right? And I think about 3 years ago where Babson asked me. Babson being number one in entrepreneurship is like, we need to do something for black women. So this is during 2020, the heightened tension through media about all the racial tension going on in America. Babson being number one in entrepreneurship, they're like, listen, we need to do something. And I don't know what the something they thought I was going to do, but creating the Black Women Entrepreneurship program at Babson has been revolutionary because it's been out of the box, really using our entrepreneur thought and action methodology. In doing so, what I'm hearing from the entrepreneurs is the level of support. And I'm just so proud to see the nice, giveaways we have here, Take 5. But I asked myself, we're going to use these products. Are we going to continue to, support these entrepreneurs? Are we going to highlight these entrepreneurs on our social media platforms? Because as black women, we give so much, right? How do we encourage these entrepreneurs that are just trying to get in the room, trying to get these platform opportunities to keep on pressing forward?
Repeat that one more time.
How do we encourage black women entrepreneurs to continue to press forward? Because we're always asked to give so much of our time, our talent, even our products. And sometimes I tell people, nothing should be for free. We should learn how to negotiate. We should understand our worth. But as a mentor, how would you really encourage the next generation of how do they get here, right? And we'll talk a little bit about, we're going to be bringing, Ms. Adrian, we're bringing some Babson students here and some entrepreneurs next year. We're definitely going to be here. But how do we get them into these spaces and other even procurement opportunities? How do we do that for them?
I don't, that's why I asked you to repeat it. I just don't think it's rocket science.
Right.
It's.
But what encouragement would you give them?
Well, no, the next generation. What encouragement? It's not in. It's a mindset. Buy black.
Yes.
That's all it is. You see somebody who's black, if they're talented, and you see the talented, see that they're talented. Like Sharina, when I first saw Sharina's work, it's like she's dope. So I called up JB and John Boiler.
You called so many people for me
Yeah.
in my lifetime. I don't know.
It's like make it happen, and it's not when you say women.
Or black
It's a
businesses.
black thing that we
Yes.
don't support. I don't know what happened. I was born in '61, so something happened. I was used to, see somebody black,
Yes.
like that, and something happened in this era where we don't support each other. It's starting to get back. You got Group Black, and you got the Inkwell, and you got Adrian's doing what she's doing, the A-list, and so on and so forth. But the encouragement is, if you see somebody black, I don't care if it's a dentist, a doctor, a pilot, a creative, a director, a writer, a musician, or whatever, male or female, check them out. If they're dope, give them a shot. That's it. And if they suck, fire them. It's as simple as that. Yeah, but we don't do that.
Right.
It's like, we've all seen it. You get on the plane, if it's a black pilot, if you're with somebody black, they might go, ooh, I don't know, it's a black pilot. It's like, what the fuck? So,
Just to add to that, you're right. We do need to buy black. We need to think black. But in terms of inspiring folks to come back to spaces, my friend Dr. Christopher Emdin talks about how people return to spaces where they feel affirmed. People return to places where pistons begin to fire and hormones actually rush because they feel welcome. They feel like they belong. They feel like someone has seen them. So I think seeing people listening to people, encouraging authenticity, because authenticity is also the only way to be truly successful and truly yourself and truly happy. So encouraging them to be more of who they are every day. We don't all have to get to the same place in a single file line. What's important is that you feel well, that you are supported and loved, and through that you will feel free enough to bring your expressions to the world, to create your business, to keep powering through. And then to remind people, you can also take a break. You don't have to, just you being is part of the work.
Wellness is really important. Wellness.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
Yes.
just take care of yourself. If we take care of each other, then we'll keep seeing each other. And over time, I do believe that the community just will continue to thrive and grow. And success won't always look like sitting on the stage, you know?
Well, I have a question for you, Kadia. How do you measure? You talked about Jimmy, about really showing up and doing the work and being the best. How do you measure that? How do you measure success and progress for Black women entrepreneurs, particularly the ones that you have to deal with in your field?
Yeah. I think it goes back to
Yes.
what everyone just said about
Yeah.
community. I think I measure it by the coalition that's behind them. And that doesn't have to necessarily just be a group of Black women. That looks like everybody behind them. And I think more so when we look at any organization or any group of people that's trying to push the success of Black women, it goes back to what you said about situational privilege. It goes back to safety. And I was just over there at the Pinterest beach, and a friend of mine who used to work at the same company as me was saying, man, do you know how good we had it? And I was like, yeah, I did not know until we left our old company. And it was because all of our VPs that we worked under were Black women. My first meeting as an intern out of college was sitting in a boardroom with a bunch of executives. And it took me by shock to look around the room and saying every single one of them from Chicago, New York, LA, Miami were Black women. And that was a privilege to sit in a space that said like, wow, this is what it looks like. And so it set the bar really high. I'm telling you, really high. And kind of was like, okay, I don't know where I go from here. But I'm hoping that when we walk into more companies, more spaces, more agencies, that more of the Black women that want that kind of support can say, this is where I can feel safe. Because it's going to come back to safety.
Yeah, having that representation and mentorship as well. Thank you. I want to open it up. I don't know if I have the great pleasure of being here on the stage. Does anybody have any questions for the panelists or myself? If not, I can keep on going. Any questions? All right. If you can continue sharing with us, and we have a pop-up guest coming. I see him walking in slowly. I'm going to put him on the spot. So Katie and I are Babson alums, so full disclosure on this, and we have Rich Lou Dennis here. Wave, Rich. He's not only a Babson alum, but he also is one of our Board of Trustee members. So Rich, I don't know if you're going to join us. You can just stand right there. And AKs too, yes. You have to walk all the way around there. They're going to walk you around. While Rich is coming up, could you just give advice and continue on the topic of investing and supporting Black women entrepreneurs? Has there ever been a situation where you perhaps gave feedback? Because I think that's really important. Feedback, advice to someone that you talked about mindset, that necessarily didn't take that advice too well, and how did you handle that situation? Because, I mean, even I would say Black people, we're talking Black people in general, because we all want everybody to succeed, but has there ever been that situation when you're trying to help someone that didn't want your help?
There's a woman, I won't say her name, but where we were on, whenever we're on panels, I would shout her out and say whatever good things about her, and there's a lot of great things to say about her. And she would get furious, like literally would be upset with me that, well, look, there's a bunch of folks here that could do even more than I can do for you, and I'm trying to dap you up. So the advice would be, and there's another woman, she's my white Jewish mom, when I say something positive, she goes, I received that, Jimmy, I received that. So that would be my advice, is when somebody says something good about you, like when Sharina was saying something, I received that, Sharina, is for women to receive it and embrace it. It's not a bad thing.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. You want to answer? All right. So, What I love about Babson, we can always count on a Babson alum just to jump in. Thank you, Rich. I know you're busy. We've been having a conversation around the importance of investing and supporting Black women entrepreneurs. And I just want to personally thank you for all the work you have done and all your multiple businesses of supporting Black women entrepreneurs. And the first question, I want you to kind of catch up with the conversation here, is if you can talk about a woman or women that have really influenced your life.
Wow.
That's easy, isn't it?
That's the easiest question I've ever been asked.
We want to know, though.
So I have the good fortune of being heavily, to the point of almost exclusively, influenced by women across, I think I'm in my 4th generation now of that. So my grandmother on both sides were entrepreneurs and single moms. And so I got to learn what their struggles were early on and grew up in that and watched them win and watched them fail and see how they handled it and see how they managed relationships and how they built relationships and how they were taken advantage of and how they managed through those situations and how they set up so that my mother wouldn't have those same experiences, so hers were different. My mother's also my business partner. Interestingly enough, my father died when I was 8, but before his death, he and his mother were business partners. So they built a business together until he passed, and then, my mother and I, business partners for 30-something years now together. And then my sister, because I have one sister, so it's me and my sister, and my sister is also my business partner, and we with my mother and my sister, we built Sundial. And then my children, who are now 2 of my 4 daughters, and I only have daughters. 2 of my 4 daughters are in our businesses today.
Girl dad.
Yeah, all the way through. My niece, all right? So it's literally me and all these women across all these generations that have not just influenced me and not just trained me, but have also partnered with me. And I think in a lot of ways have given me the strength to take on the fights that I take on, because I know I can always go back to them.
So Black women supported you?
From
Day
Day
one.
one.
Day one.
even
one.
before I was born. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kadia, like I mentioned, Kadia and also Rich and I are Babson alums. Can you talk a little bit about, I know we've heard, all of us have mentored, worked with small businesses. What do you feel like the audience really needs to hear as far as really showing up as an entrepreneur, as far as when it comes to investments?
Oh, that's so hard because there's so many things that you could say. But the first thing that comes to mind, I'm just thinking about exclusion. I think about the work that I do and the work that we all do, especially in means of access and making sure that people who look like us are being seen. I think the conversation is usually about how can we include Black women? How can we make sure people who are on the outskirts are included? But the first thing we need to look at is what is leading to the exclusion in the first place.
Right.
What are the systems of exclusion? We need to break those down, because it's not going to be about bringing people in. It's going to be the question of why are they being kept out? And so when I look at the reasons why Black women don't get funding, or Black women are right now, especially the ones who are single mothers, the ones I work with, who are entrepreneurs, are trying to battle out of poverty, I think about all the ways that they're excluded. And if we can figure out a way to make sure that those systems of exclusions, wherever we go, are broken down, that they come in, there are so many people who are going to come behind them. So many people are going to come behind them. And so that's the first step. I'm not even here to talk about inclusion anymore. I'm not about including folks, because I'm not having them included in the same system. I want to figure out what's excluding them in the first place, and let's get rid of that.
I love that. Thank you, Shereen.
Yeah, it's interesting. You asked why black women aren't getting the money that they need. The reason is that people don't like or understand black women. Black women understand black women, but it is very challenging for people outside of black women to see black women succeed and to really kind of shift for themselves the narrative that they've taken on around us. But the thing is that out of all the people who get money to start businesses, black women are actually the most successful. So if there is one thing that I think people should hear today is that no matter where you are at with your idea, with your business, maybe you haven't even envisioned yourself as an entrepreneur yet. However, if you decide to take that on, you have a higher success chance or rate than anybody else. You're destined to succeed. And everyone that came before you already did this. This is what our whole culture has been built on, is black women being strong enough and persevering and creating something out of nothing. Right. And that's why we're all here today. Right. All right? And so really it's just about, I think everybody needs to know that black women will win. If you've got some money to give it to a black woman, right? If you want to see something be nurtured, you want to see something thrive, and you want to see it be inclusive, hand it to a black woman. If black women ran this world, we'd all be fed, we'd all be educated, we wouldn't be warring. Oh, I just think more black girl babies and give them money.
So, Jimmy, I have a different question for you. I love that. I love it. Thank you, Sharita. We were discussing is there a difference between an entrepreneur and a creative entrepreneur? And I think this whole conference is talking about creativity. And in your space, do you really feel there's a difference in those two terms, Jimmy?
It's absolutely a difference.
She said no.
Entrepreneur, just full stop, is about making money. They could make matchsticks. If it'll make them $1 billion, they cool. And just make matchsticks. It's just what's going to make them money. Oftentimes, creative people, it's about the idea. And oftentimes that idea is bringing something new. It's revolutionary. It's about doing something good for the planet. It's about doing something good for the community. Why is this idea, why should I bring this idea into existence? It's not just about the money.
Exactly. We have to wrap up, but I have a closing question, unless there's one quick question from the audience. And I'm going to start with Rich Liu. In all that you do, if you can just give one kind of pearl of wisdom to the audience, particularly for the entrepreneurs in the room, if you're betting on a business, what are you specifically looking for in that entrepreneur?
So, first of all, we talked about all of the influence in my world. You know, Jimmy over here, quiet as is kept. The actual reason his business succeeds is because his wife is his partner.
There you go.
True that.
Yes.
Right. And his brother and his sons, but it's Smoke that really.
Black family business.
This is true.
Yes.
This is true.
Right. And so I think this idea of supporting black women as some philanthropic or social effort is false. It's if you want to build a great business and you want to have sustainability and longevity in that business, then that's who you go partner with, right? That's been my experience. I think I speak for you when I say for you and for many of the businesses that I know. We have the good fortune of seeing a lot of businesses through our New Voices platform. We're now on Fund 3. To date, we've invested somewhere north of $500 million in black businesses.
Thank you.
And then, but the returns are extraordinary, right? I mean, just extraordinary. I was saying to Mark earlier today, from P&G, you're welcome, right? So we partnered with Mayel, a husband and wife team, and sold that business to P&G earlier this year. Largest exit by a black woman in CPG, and one of the largest exits by a woman in CPG, period, right? So if I've got $1 to spend, I think I've already proven where I would spend it. I don't think that that's a question, right? If I've got $1 to invest, there isn't a question in my mind where I would invest it. But it's beyond the fact that I would invest in a woman. It is, does she have the stick-to-itiveness to get through all of the cycles that you must go through, right? Does she have the fortitude to do that? Does she have the mental strength to take on the battles of being? Because one of the things that we spend a lot of time on is just sort of the mental state of our entrepreneurs, because she's battling so much in the world, and now you layer this on top, and can she actually pull through that, right? Or what sort of support system do you need to put around her in order to ensure that she gets through that? Or what kind of influences do you need to remove from around her in order to make sure that she gets there? So we look for a litany of things, and we try to be as data-driven about it as we can. We try to be as structural as we can. We do founder scorecards, right? So we want to know how this person reacted in this situation, in that situation, in that situation, and we track that across all of the founders in our portfolio, so we can start to identify the commonalities in both the successes and in the challenges, and then how do we fuel the successes and how do we help with the challenges. So I think, there is no one way to do it. Just the one way that I think about it, or the way that we approach it and focus on it, is understanding that there is a tremendous amount of obstacles outside of running the business that are going to show up, and try to predict how that person that you're investing in is going to handle those obstacles when they do face them, because they will face them, and oftentimes they face them at times when they're at their most vulnerable, right? And so being able to be there when they're at their most vulnerable, but still play the role of saying, hey, you gotta stand up. We're counting on you. Because last piece, and then I'll turn this over, is our approach to this is everybody has to be extraordinarily successful. If we invest in you, you have to be extraordinarily successful, and not, we're going to invest in 20 people and we expect 2 to be successful. We need everybody to be, because we need to take that capital, multiply it so that we can invest it back at scale. That's how we're continuing to grow that. So there's also a tremendous amount of responsibility placed on the founders to make sure that they deliver against what our profile is.
Yeah. Thank you, Rich. As he said, the onus is on us to build our community and to work with these women entrepreneurs. We are out of time, but what I want to say...
You shouldn't have asked me.
I know. I want to thank...
I wanted to say one thing, though.
I want you to... I want
want to say one thing.
tagline from all of the panelists before we leave, because I have the timekeeper staring me down. But I want to thank all of them for being here. We will be here if you have any questions. So yes, Jimmy. Yes.
Rich just dropped a lot of science.
He did.
So I'd like to leave it with a church bit. So I was just reading the Bible, and there was this verse, something about don't just read the word or hear the word, but do the word.
Be doers.
I'm paraphrasing.
Be doers.
So
yes.
You guys have been listening to people speak and talk, and for however many days we've been here, Rich just dropped his. The gang right here dropped
Takes
theirs.
action. Yes.
Action. Action greater than talk.
Yes. Sharina, tagline, closing, one word. She says amen. Amen? Amen.
Amen.
Any closing words? All right.
Perfect. That's a word.
That's a word. The church says amen. We're all, thank you again. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.